The Intersect Faces command allows you to create geometry in your model that you cannot do using any of the other commands in SketchUp. So say, for instance, I want to create an angled hole through this brick. So I'm going to create a circle that is, say, 3 inches radius, and I'm going to extend that up a little ways. We'll go 30. This is 40 by 20 by 15. So if let's make that a group, since this is a temporary thing. Now, if I just were to say move this here, now if I was just making a hole perpendicular to a face, I could draw the circle and push-pull that through. But if I wanted to, say, create an angled hole, push-pull doesn't work in that situation. Push-pull only works perpendicular. So I need the intersection between this cylinder and the brick. So I can do that using the Intersect Faces command. So if I go to the Select tool and I right-click on here, one of my options is Intersect Faces. Now it says with model. So in this case, whatever's selected will intersect with anything else in my model, which in this case is just the brick. So I'll do that, and if you watch when I do this, watch this area here, that created that line. That line was not there before. So now I've got the intersection of those two parts, but that geometry is separate from this group and this component. So I need to make the ellipse, which is what that intersection is in this case, and this cylinder part of this component. So the first thing I'm going to do is explode this. So that now allows me to, if I go to X-ray mode, I'm going to hide the brick for a second here. So now this face and this face and this face are separate entities. Prior to creating that intersection line, this would have all been the same geometry. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to select this geometry that's outside the part. I'll delete that. You can see there's my ellipse there. I'll come down here and do the same thing. Get rid of that. And now I need to delete the hole. Okay, but this is still a component, so I need to open it for editing. But that circle, right, I can't click on it. That circle is outside of the component, so I can't edit it at the same time. So I'm going to explode this. Now I've got loose geometry. I can click on the various parts. So I want to get rid of that circle. Now in this case, and sometimes this happens, the face is still all one thing. It's not differentiated by this line. So if I zoom in far enough, I can see the segments here. So I'm just going to go to the line tool and trace over one of those. And that will re-identify that. So now I can delete that. I'll go to the bottom. Same thing here. I can't select that. I will trace over that. There we go. And now I can delete that. And now I should have my hole through my part. Note that the color is incorrect because that was the inside of the cylinder. I really want that white. So I'm going to select a face that's correct, right click, and click Orient Faces. Now that's correct. So what I would have to do next then is recreate my component. So I'll select the whole thing, make it a component, and that was originally component 1. Ask me if I want to replace it. I'd say yes. The other option to do that, where I would not have to explode and then recreate the component, I'll show you next. If I undo back to there. Okay, so that's back where we started. So I still need to explode the cylinder because I only need the portion that's inside here. So I'm going to explode that again. And as before, I'll get rid of this top part and the bottom part. And now if I go to X-ray, I can see I've got the two ellipses and the cylinder inside here. So I'm going to select those by clicking and dragging from right to left, because that only selects things totally within the box. So I've got just the parts I need there. I'm going to come up to Edit and Cut. So that's on the clipboard. And now I'll open the brick for editing. And I'm going to go back up to Edit and Paste in Place. So that brings it back in the location it was in before. I come back out of X-ray, see if I can select that. I still can't select it, so I need to zoom in here and trace over one of the lines. We'll select that and delete it. And then, of course, do the same thing on the bottom. You have to zoom in far enough so you can actually see the segments here. And select that and delete it. And once again, I'll use Orient Faces to fix that face. So depending on the situation, that might be a little quicker. Do the paste in place as opposed to exploding and recreating the component. Another way this can be helpful is if, say you've got some molding and you want to create a mitered corner. So I'm going to undo back to where I just have my part here. So there's my brick. So I'm going to make this longer. And let's say I've got a profile on this edge here. So I'll use the arc tool. And we'll pull that through to there. So just kind of a contrived molding there. But now let's say I had another piece that came in like that, and I want to create a miter between these two. So basically what I need to do is create that line there. And that line would be at 45 degrees to the corner here. So what I can do is I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to create a face that's at 45 degrees to this part, and then do intersect faces with that. So I'm going to use the rotated rectangle tool. So I'll just click somewhere here, come out this way, and then I'm going to come straight up. So I'm looking down in the measurements box here. I want to make sure I'm vertical. So there I'm at 90 degrees. And just I want to make sure I come up further than the part. So I'm going to move that. Oops. So I'm going to select that and move it into position here. And then I'm going to rotate it. Want to make sure that's blue. There's my pivot point. I just clicked, and I'm going to go from there, and I'm going to go 45 degrees. So that gives me my cut. It's almost like I put that on a chop saw, and I'm going to make that cut. So I've got the face selected. I'm going to go to the Select tool, right-click, and Intersect Faces with the model. And you'll see that gives me my cut line all the way through. So I can get rid of the parts I don't need. And once again, I've got this geometry outside of the part. So I'm going to just draw a line from, or a selection box from left to right. To select that, just like before, I'm going to go to Edit and Cut. So it's on the clipboard now. We'll open this for editing. Edit, paste in place. And now you can see these parts are different from the other parts. So I'll orient here so I'm looking right down that cut line, and I'm going to draw a selection box. So it just grabs all that. And now I've got my miter cut. So if I bring in my other part, there we go. Now, because of how that was created, I'm going to flip it. Now flip along. Now remember, this part's been rotated, so green is now red and red is now green. So if I flip this on red, I think, yeah, that should fix that. So there we go. So there, that creates my miter. And I've got a clean line there where the miter crosses those curves. So a couple different ways to use intersect faces. It can be very powerful for creating geometry that you can't do any other way.